We've already made it to episode 30. I can't believe it. Yes, this is episode 30 right now, Dope Nostalgia, and I'm your host, Naomi. Today's guest is a local hometown music hero from here in Edmonton, Alberta. Bobby Cameron will be on the show. We're going to be talking about all the stuff that happened to him in the 90s that made his career so big and awesome, and he had a huge hit on Canadian radio with a song called Human Fortress. I'll be sharing that as well as some other choice cuts from Bobby's career. I'm also going to be introducing a brand new segment to the show that we're going to have, and you'll hear all about it later. It's a secret for now. You'll hear it at the end of the show. It's lots of fun. All right. One thing I wanted to address as well is that I've been looking back now. We've made it to episode 30 and seeing all the amazing interviews and fantastic people we've talked to. But one thing I've noticed is that most of the guests so far have been male. Not as many females. And I just wanted to clarify, too, that I've approached everybody equally when it came to interviews and such. But so far, I haven't had a lot of response from females. So I am working on trying to get some more female representation on the show. I just wanted everyone to be aware of that. And it's something that's really important to me to work on for the future. So now that you know all of that, and I'm going to continue on making the best content I can for you guys, here's a little bit of information on our guest today, Bobby Cameron.
Wikipedia moments.
Bobby Cameron's career hit the big time when he won the Guitar Wars competition. I'm going to let the late, great host of Video Hits and Much Music VJ, Dan Gallagher, tell you a little bit here about Bobby, and then you get to hear him play.
Sixth and final contestant. He's from Alberta. Alberta's regional winner is Bobby Cameron, originally from Nova Scotia, and won the local Guitar Wars competition at the Sidetrack Cafe in Edmonton. He's 28 years old and has played professionally for 14 years, traveling Canada from coast to coast extensively. He calls himself a regular road warrior. Bobby currently has an original solo project underway in which he sings and plays guitar. He's planning to shop his new master tape, and he's looking for an EP release later this year. He's played with Matt Minglewood and last year's Guitar Wars champion Eddie Patterson, and has shared stage with Powder Blues Band, Prism, Trooper, Doug and the Slugs, and even the Nylons. Please welcome to Fender Guitar Wars 90, if he's ready. Are you ready? Bobby Cameron.
Canadian guitar wizard Bobby Cameron is best known as a superbly skilled guitar player with a powerful, emotional style. Yet at the heart of his ever-evolving career is a true singer-songwriter. He's an inspired live performer, whether on his charismatic solo shows or fronting his energetic roots rock band. With his soul anchored in his Cape Breton upbringing, Cameron brings this to his music, a riveting mix of styles, running the full gamut from folk and roots right up to blues rock. The past few years have been some exciting chapters in Cameron's storied career. His collaborating with Universal recording artist Julie Black resulted in a song on her 2008 Juno Award-winning album. In 2007, he garnered Toronto Exclusive Magazine Awards Best Blues Artist, Best Blues Song for Sue Anna, and Artist of the Year. From the BMG label, he received a Platinum Sales Award for co-writing on Canadian Idol winner Ryan Malcolm's Home album. From 2002 to 2006, Cameron was a staff songwriter-producer for Carlin America Music Publishing out of New York. This led him to placing songs with artists in both the Canadian and American Idol contests. Cameron considered himself fortunate to be special guest and guitar slinger for the late venerated blues icon Long John Baldry, and toured with him from 2002 to 2004. His playing with Baldry on the international festival circuit was lauded and complimented by such artists as J.J. Cale. His first indie CD was self-titled and produced by Randy Staub. Cameron's second album, Drowning on Dry Land, was mixed by the renowned engineer Mike Plotnikoff. His third album, Emotional Drift, was recorded in Nashville by the legendary Miles Wilkinson and mastered at Sony Studios in New York. Over the years, Cameron has performed with Jeff Healey, Krista Berg, Chuck Leavell and Bernard Fowler of the Rolling Stones, Tom Cochrane, Blue Rodeo, Colin James, Leroy Parnell, Burton Cummings, Big Sugar, Loverboy, April Wine, and the Kentucky Headhunters. Bobby Cameron is a dedicated, multi-dimensional artist. This is demonstrated by the maturity of his continuing commitment to great, timeless music. Ladies and gentlemen, here's my talk with Bobby Cameron. Oh,
anyway,
yes.
How are you?
You got it. Perfect. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I love the backdrop.
Yes, my nostalgic background.
It looks cool. My next question is how are you doing that? Is that just with some kind of virtual backdrop, or you actually have a backdrop? Oh,
well,
cool.
there's virtual background in Zoom, and then I throw it up there, but I actually use a green screen just to make sure it's all
yeah, exactly
smooth and you can touch it.
That's a good idea, because when I want to start doing some more, as you know, the virtual world, everybody's doing virtual concerts, but I need to figure out a way to get a decent backdrop that, you can kind of make it look a little rock and roll,
Oh yeah. And there's so many different ones you can choose from. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, no kidding.
Thanks for spending some time with me this afternoon. I have
of course. Yeah. Well, thanks for your patience and rearranging stuff. And I apologize for that. It just, with this COVID thing going on, I got a 14-year-old and a 10-year-old boy, but I'm really active homeschooling my boy besides the classrooms online. So it's been, my music's getting pushed to the evens in my studio, but it's been very busy. But that's why I had to rearrange things, because his calendar was fluctuating. So
I know it's the time right now where all kinds of unexpected things are happening. So hey,
yeah, it's ever shifting.
Yeah, I might
daily.
That's why I can go till about 3 today.
That's cool.
I'll have to wrap by then. But yeah, I wrote down some questions for you, and I wanted to start with the story that I told you a couple years back when I ran into you after the Edmonton Music Awards, because
that's right. Refresh my memory. Now it's coming back. Okay. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. It was a story about Gary McGowan, who
absolutely,
who in Edmonton here was a huge, well-known producer and champion of the arts. He took me to your show at the Sidetrack when you were on the Human Fortress tour. Like that song was being spun a lot on the radio at the time. It was and a lot of heavy play on Power 92. And why did you root your career in Edmonton originally when you started? Somebody tried to leave there.
No, but actually, it's what, Naomi. Thanks for connecting the dots, because I was trying to place exactly the first time we actually chatted, and that's exactly, and you brought it, now it all flooding back. I apologize.
Yeah.
But I'm getting old now.
No, that's okay. I was like 13, 14 years old when he brought me to the Sidetrack, but he got me in.
That's right.
He got me in.
Lord.
Yeah.
Wow. That's right. My God, I just feel like a complete moron that I haven't figured, this is a wake-up call for
I
me.
did not
But
expect
now
you to
it's
remember.
all making sense.
I did not
Now I understand. How did I get on your hit list? How the hell did that happen? But okay, how did I end up at Edmonton? That's a really good question, and one that I've tried to answer myself many times, but I'm glad it happened. But to make a long story short, I grew up in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. Left home probably 18, 19 when I was touring and stuff like that. I was going to finish university, but I didn't. I was going to actually finish a business degree. I didn't. Chose the guitar, and I'm at a point in my life I'm going, well, maybe you should have did both. But anyway, I just started touring with this band from Cape Breton called Squeeze Play, and we kept coming out west because we were a maritime band, and hence all the work in Alberta, especially up north, with all the Maritimers working the oil patch. Kept coming back and forth through Edmonton doing shows, and when the band broke up in '84, I left the band because I wanted to pursue my own career as a solo artist, and Edmonton had a lot of gigs, and I could survive doing it and put together my craft. And so I just actually came down to Edmonton to actually play some shows. I wasn't really thinking about, 20 years later, on and off, I'd be here, but I wasn't any long-term thought. I said, you know what, this is a good spot to put together an original act. I was going to tour anyway, so but it just kept evolving year after year after year, and here I am. I mean, I moved to Toronto a bunch of times, Vancouver, back and forth many times, but I still come back out here. So that's kind of how Edmonton became my my home. I lived here longer than I have in Cape Breton, so this is actually home. This is my real home.
Wow. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you've gotten to see the whole country, I'm sure.
Yeah, I have. I was all, pursuing the music business hard. I'm still, I do it 24/7 still, but chasing, as I mean, interviewing a lot of people on both sides of the fence, from the producer side to the writer side to the artist side, that I chased my heart wherever it took me, and, into the big centers and even across the border, and, searching for that big record deal, searching for the next break, searching for the next producer that could help me get to the next level. So, but, I always end up coming back, and I still travel, and, but yeah, Edmonton is, it was just meant to be.
Yeah.
But it's a going joke with me, because I mean, many people ask me, said, well, usually people move to Alberta because they're in the oil industry. Like I said, well, actually, you know what? There's a lot of art out here in Alberta that, and the world knows about it now, not just because, my career. I mean, I had lots of people that went on and did huge things, but it's not just oil on the ground here, I've always said.
Nice. That's true.
So,
it's true.
No, it is very true.
We have an identity. We have a very big identity, larger than that. That's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And, what you're doing to the arts, to acting, to, I mean, everything. And it's very, very, it's a very, very ripe place for art to grow. And I think maybe not so much now, but it was a healthy place to be as a singer-songwriter, because you could actually play at night, support yourself, and get paid decent on the gigs, and put your craft together, afford to go into a studio and build your skills, right? And it was really, really a great spot for somebody that did it 24/7, to make a go of it.
See, that is a time that I wish I had been feasibly active as an adult entertainer, musician at that time, because of what you said. It was feasible to make money performing, whereas it
was really feasible. I mean, and when I was doing it, you weren't even born. So, I mean, and when you came to my show, I was already, I was 32, 33 then. So, I mean, I was well into the game. I consider myself a late bloomer, if bloom is the word to use, but I consider I bloomed at one point. But yeah, so, I mean, you're experiencing the arts. I mean, what you're doing, keeping stuff alive, like this great show. It amazes me how everybody's, trying to figure out a way to keep this art alive somehow, virtually. I mean, for an old guy like me, this could be very well the touring scene for a long time, until this pandemic, the next 2 years, they say, for sure,
Yeah, and using these tools like Zoom has been really beneficial for that. I was having a chat.
Thank you for that.
No problem.
I mean, this, Naomi,
you figured it out on your own, but I'm happy.
No, but I mean, my wife is using it with her business, but this is my first Zoom interview I've ever done, thanks to you. So you've educated me on Zoom. So.
Made you do it. Yes. Good. Did you attend music school?
No, I never did. I learned my theory. I went to Berklee online years and years later, well into my middle 40s. I learned my music theory that way, but I played totally by ear. But I learned my theory, on the music side, and I learned the business of the School of Hard Knocks. I mean, just by being working with labels, and either being as an artist or working with them as a songwriter on the project. So I learned my business that way, and I learned my music theory through Berklee years later. But I pretty well picked it up as I went along. So I never went to Grant MacEwan. I always wanted to, and but maybe one day I will decide to do that. I mean, I loved studying. I always loved it, but I was raised to believe you just go after it, and you put your nose to the grindstone and you block everything out and you just go for it. And I don't believe that anymore, but I did then.
Well, yeah, things change, but you can still go get your degree at Grant Mac. Absolutely.
You know what? I would love to do that. And more I think about it every day. It's just, yeah, I think it's definitely in my future. You know, I want to do that. You know, it's something I think about more and more now. You know, I'm not really, I'm winding down a bit, but no, I'm still making music and still putting out records,
Yeah.
still producing a lot, developing talent, which I enjoy doing that. But I'll always be I'll always be a songwriter for sure, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I found some benefit in, like, I took one semester of the program before I
Yeah.
ran out of money. And two,
Yeah, no kidding.
at the time when I took it, it was very jazz centric. And I wasn't interested in jazz. I was interested in
Yeah.
rock and pop. So I was having a hard time focusing on what I was supposed to be doing. I was grateful to
Totally.
learn so much about the history of jazz and such, but
Yeah.
they've really expanded the program now so that it does include more genres of music. I think I would
Well,
find
it's
it
just,
much more
yeah.
interesting now.
And probably applicable. I mean, you know, I mean, jazz is an amazing format, but the thing is, I mean, the industry involves so many different
Mhm.
styles and scenes and ways. People that take these, you know, these study like this need to apply it into the industry that they have before them, especially the craft or the style they're going after. So I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
You know.
Now tell me about the Much Music Guitar Wars experience with Jeff Healey. This is what kind of got you
Yeah.
got you started up, eh?
Well, yeah, I guess. Yeah. Well, it was definitely my first little taste of a little bit of, you know, some notoriety. I start to get. I wouldn't say I became famous, but because I mean, I kept it in perspective. But it was my first time ever to be in the spotlight like that, nationally, on a national show, and to win an award like that. But the only reason I ever got involved in that was because I needed to find. I was always thinking about how do I further my artist career, because I needed to get some heat on me, attention on me, and because nobody was returning my calls, nobody cared. And I said, well, if I'm lucky enough even to go, if I win Alberta, that will help. And if I'm lucky enough to get to Toronto, I wasn't thinking about winning. This will help my songwriting, because then maybe they'll take me seriously, you know? So,
Yeah.
but I just got lucky. And I think that for that particular round of Guitar Wars in 1990, my style of playing and the judges, from Kim Mitchell to Jeff Healey to some Blue Rodeo guys were there. I mean, it was just, I think I was just a more style of player they gravitated towards, and the rest of the guitar players, they were brilliant, but all of them were playing a style similar to Eddie Van Halen, and I love that style. But there wasn't, the only thing that stood out, good or bad, was the way I played, because everybody was the same style of player. So I had, you know, I think in a way it was just, I don't know, cosmically rigged, that maybe I was meant to win that, because I wasn't the best guitar player. I wasn't even close to being technically the best guitar player. I just think it was just something that was meant to unfold for me to, that's how I think about things, because it just felt like, you know, I'm not the best player here, but I walked away with that prize. I'm glad I did at the time, but, you know, looking back on it, I'm going, I don't know. The guy that I was going head to head with at the end was definitely a better guitar player. I couldn't play like he played, but I was more of a, you know, I was jamming up there. I wasn't, they had parts worked out. I was just flying off the cuff, because that's the way I played at the sidetrack. I would just jam and make it up as I went. Maybe it was a bit of a fresh air for them, as far as all the guitar players that were playing, you know, playing pieces of music, you know. So I don't know.
Breaks up the monotony. There you go.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I'm good for that. I'm good for breaking up the monotony. I'll take that accolade, but that's it.
So, but I mean, that opportunity obviously opened doors for you.
Totally.
And is that pretty much what brought you to get involved with working with a legend like Randy Staub?
Yeah. Well, actually, years later, it was just shortly after. You know, now you got me thinking about how everything worked out. So when I won the Guitar Wars, I remember I came back to Alberta from Toronto, and I was really starting to push my artist thing. So that helped me, because papers were doing articles on me. I was getting more shows or paying me more money. So it was really helping that. And then I was in the studio constantly recording my music, because I had hundreds, not hundreds songs, probably 60 tunes I wanted to record and see if I can get 10 really good ones. And then I entered this competition called Super Session that Mix 96 put on. And the prize was working with Randy Staub. And so songwriters would submit two songs, and Randy would pick who he wanted to work with. So, and I lucked out again, and he chose me. So, a couple of years after Guitar Wars, I got a chance to work with Randy Staub. So, and that was I think that was when. And then Gary McGowan entered my life. Gary started to manage. I mean, I've been after Gary to manage me long before that.
Okay.
But Gary just wasn't ready or wasn't interested. But it was a certain show I did at the Sidetrack. He was there, and I played a song called "The Other Side." And for some reason, it turned his head around about me. I guess he was just looking for something that he didn't see in me, and that's fine because when you do showcases, as many as I did, there's nothing worse. Picture this. You'll appreciate this. You go to Toronto and do a showcase for record companies. You're in a room trying to have fun and put on a show, and you got 10 or 12 record people sitting there with their arms folded. Come on.
Intimidating.
Yeah, well, they're intimidating, but it's not about, it has nothing to do with why we're playing live shows, just to try to impress somebody. I always hated that. So I started really disliking that part of it, because I'm going to do what I do for the fans that like me, and I want to grow with my fans and make music they want to buy, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to keep me in the music business. But I needed a record deal, so I had to impress one of them. But anyway, make a long story short, Gary finally seen that thing he thought was missing. So Gary came on board right then, and and I remember when Randy Staub came to town, The Other Side is the reason he gave me the winner of that contest. But I remember sitting in his hotel room with my guitar, and he said, "We need a hit song. You ain't got one yet." And that was a shock. I was just punching my guts and going, "What do you mean I ain't got? No, man, you ain't got a hit song yet." So, "Do you got anything new?" I said, "Yeah, I wrote this song called Human Fortress. And I really like it." But I was kind of nervous going, if you didn't like those, why are you going to like this one? And I just picked up my acoustic. I just wrote it that day. I wrote it that week, and I didn't even have it recorded. He said, "That's the one." So that got everything going. And Randy said, "That's a really good song. I think that would really be a great one to lead off this record with." So the rest is history.
Driving a highway Sunday, leading down to a town nowhere, protecting reasons deep inside you, yeah, sheltered like the pain behind your smile. Upon the highest hill you climb, you take refuge behind stones that surround you like a prison, holds you captive in the tower above. I can't help you, I can't reach you, I can't help you at all. Human fortress, human fortress. In your shelter, steel and concrete, can you hear me outside calling your name? Upon the highest hill you climb, yeah. Inch by inch you weave a shroud of fear and pain. I can't help you, I can't enough. Girl, you know I still care to make you feel like you're loved. If you're not, I'm still there in a world dying of endless pain and despair. Helpless people without love. I ain't nothing, baby.
Did you feel the same way about the song that he did? Or was it shocking to you?
Well, no, because, I mean, Naomi, am I pronouncing your name right, first of all?
Naomi.
Naomi?
Yeah.
Naomi, yes. A, Bobby. I would be Naomi. A
Yeah.
is Naomi. Yeah, okay.
Thank you for asking.
No, but I just want to make sure I'm always conscious of that. But, I mean, I was coming into when Gary entered my life, and if I'm babbling too much, you let me know.
That's what a podcast is all about.
Yeah. Well, see, Gary McGowan came in and we start working together, and he did not like my electric rock side. He said, it's dated. Where you go with electric guitar, I mean, it's good, but your acoustic side really separates you. There's something happens with you when you pick up the acoustic with your band or yourself. Your songs are different. It's just more organic. Gary wanted something organic.
Okay.
So I think that the songs Randy recorded, other than The Other Side, were I was coming out of that rock thing of the 80s, and I was starting to find this really cool, funky acoustic side of my songwriting. And Human Fortress was that song that kind of where I went down that road, right?
Mm. So
in a way, I understood why, and it sounded current, Human Fortress too. It sounded like something that, okay. And that was always the comments at radio was, they really liked the song, but it just sounded individual. Didn't sound like, like constantly being compared to, blah, 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 blah. So, and Randy thought that was be one that we could really separate myself. So it was a conscious effort to try to find my little spot.
Yeah.
Because there's one Bryan Adams, there's one Tom Cochrane, there's one, let's go on, Springsteen. I'm not putting myself at that level. I'm just saying, when you're managing an act, there has to be something individual about them, even if they're in that genre. So they all felt, and I feel too, that song kind of, it was a good spot to start. Hello, here I am, So, yeah.
Did you have to deal with those comparisons throughout your career?
Oh, constantly, man. Like,
yeah.
I mean, and Colin James, because I was playing blues. I remember one time I was playing at the Dinwiddie, and I had this record company really interested. It was, who was it in Toronto? Anyway, too many rejections, but these guys were really interested. The head guy came out to see me, but I went on stage, not thinking. Colin at the time he used to put his jeans inside his cowboy boots. And I'm older than Colin. I was doing it long before Colin. I mean, Stevie Ray Vaughan was doing it. But I come out with my jeans and my cowboy boots, you know, not thinking about, okay, I was just doing what I did. And he said he didn't even hear the set because all he could think was Colin James.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, why would he do that? I'm going, well, what about my song? So, you know, it's like, but in fairness, the record business, Canada is very small, and you know, there's one of those, there's one of those, there's one of those, there's one of those. Okay, so who are you again, and why should we care?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think, you know, you got to get over that thing of it didn't bother me, but I always felt that was different because everybody really is different. I mean, you know, technically, you know.
True. Yep. No,
So we're trying to wave our own flag, and it's hard to be really original these days, you know.
Yeah.
And those days too.
It's true. It feels like you got to come up with ideas that haven't been done already. And sometimes
And how do you do that?
sometimes you might think that you wrote something and completely legitimately, and then find out that it sounded like something else.
Yeah.
I mean, I've gone through that.
And how you find out is when you're in court and their lawyer is suing you.
That's the worst time to find out.
That's funny.
I like it when it's like in the middle of the studio sessions or something, and you're already paying for recording, and then they're like, "Oh,
yeah.
it sounds like this." Oh, great. Thanks.
Yeah, well, you know what? And we've all been there. In fact, that you just bought it. Yeah, something. I was just writing the song. I just got a whole whack of new ones. And that's. But I'm going. I know I heard that melody, and my wife said, "Well, why is? Well, it's okay. No, it's really, really close. Like it's too close." And I always used to push them aside when I feel that gut instinct, you know. But I mean, we're always being influenced. I mean, come on, you know, like I don't know.
It's true. It's true. There's a fine line there. That's for sure. But going back to the story about Randy Staub, because for the listeners who don't know who he is a legendary producer who worked on U2, Metallica, Bon Jovi albums, right? So what was it like working with him one-on-one?
Oh man, it was well, first of all, Randy, you know, a mega talented guy, originally from Alberta. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't know.
Yeah, he was actually a mixing engineer around here in the late 70s, early 80s, and he was gone. But I think he mixed a band called Dark Room for a long time. Yeah, he was a mixing engineer. And Randy Staub is the most humble individual you'll ever meet in your life. Like just a super sweet guy, and so accommodating, and so relaxed when you work with him, but yet so efficient. And he got stuff out of me that I didn't know was in there. But, you know, and then, you know, I asked him, I mean, I wouldn't stop asking him questions like, what was it like when you were working with U2? Like, is it true that like Bono was literally just walking around inside the main cutting room with a 57 live microphone singing those tracks instead of a big expensive studio mic? He goes, yeah, it's true. Because all he cared about was performance, and that's all I care about too. He told me, I said, that's all we need. We don't got performance out of you. It doesn't matter what mic we use or a guitar amp. We need great songs and a great. So that he taught me that and how to let go. But working with him and just hearing the stories and just, you know, Metallica, you know, he was actually working on my stuff, and he was going down to San Francisco Metallica studio working there. So he finished my stuff over a period of time, but I'd always pick his brain. What's that like? And, you know, it's just like working with Bryan Adams. What was that like? Working with Bon Jovi. What was that like? I mean, he was Bob Rock's personal, you know, assistant engineer. Yeah. So Bob Rock brought him on all those projects. And then Randy was managed by Bruce Allen, because Bruce Allen, not only a music manager, he manages a lot of big producers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
I know all about Bruce Allen. Yes.
Yes, so and I've had many sessions where he's cut through me like butter, but I loved them. They were engaging. I was pursuing his management hard. I got many stories with Bruce Allen. Got very close a few times, but I'm happy with Gary. Gary was. I miss Gary. I was hard on Gary. I have a lot of regrets how hard I was on Gary, but I just wanted it so bad. And, you know, like, you know, there was a time me and Gary were going to move to Toronto I almost had him convinced. I said, Gary, we need to move. We got to get out of here. We got to go to the Big Smoke. We have to do it there. Just give it a year. Let's go. But, you know, coulda, shoulda, woulda done it. But he really furthered my career. And, you know, and he was there along the Randy Staub experience, out in Vancouver. We were, you know, in Brian Adams' studio and down on Gastown and right there. And yeah, it was just a great time. I mean, Gary gave me a lot of confidence that I never had in my songwriting. He really, really liked the way I write songs, and he thought I was a great writer. So that was great, because I was very, very insecure, and you know, I had a lot of drive, but I was so insecure because the industry is one that, you know, I don't know if I could do it again, because literally, if I did it again, you know, I'm still doing it, but if I would chase it again, I would chase it different. I would just do it for the sake of doing it and stop trying to convince an industry to like me, because at the end of the day, trying to convince corporations that you got it is like you start burning out.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know, and so, but no, I mean, Randy is just amazing. Like, and his career is still, you know.
And it's really good to hear more about Gary too, because like I said, my association with him happened when I was very young, because I had entered a radio station contest with a song, and the song got onto their compilation called The Power Mix.
Absolutely.
And I was 14, and this was all like in my head, I'm thinking, I'm going to be famous. Wow. Like, you know, just.
Well, you are. I mean, but that's still notoriety.
It was still very exciting. And because Gary was involved in producing the project, I think he wanted to help shape my musical horizons. So he said, hey, I'm going to take you to see Bobby play, you know, and bring your mom down with you and everything. It'll be really cool. Then there was.
I feel so ancient right now. And you were 13. How old were you then? 14?
Yeah, I was 14 then. But
14. So writing and singing like that. Wow.
That would have been 1994, I think.
That's right.
Early 94. And then, there was a few artists that came to town, and Gary's like, here, I'll bring you out to the show. And he really tried to develop my interests and had me talking to people to learn something. And I really appreciated him for that and all the effort he put into me at a young age. So, yeah,
well, I tell you what, and, you know, and I really believe, not just because I work with him, because he obviously had interest in you too. Gary had an eye for talent. He really had an eye for something that was something special about it. And if it wasn't really out front, then he tried to get it out front. With me, he just seen that night for me, he seen something. We need to get that out front more. And I appreciated that. And with you, it was the same thing. He's seen something new and he gravitated towards that. But I tell you what, we sure miss him around here right now.
Oh yeah.
Like he would have figured out a way to do something around here, you know, and I have, you know, selfish reasons to miss him, because it's just so much more music. We talked about hooking back up again, and you know, I was a little, you know, not so bouncing off the walls. I told him that. I said I was bouncing off the walls and you know, I wasn't, you know, I was still a respectful guy, but I just made it too hard for him. You know, I wanted results 24/7, and if I wasn't getting them, then that wasn't good enough. And I just realized that that's where I lost my rudder. That's, you know, Gary did have a plan. I just needed to trust it more. You know, do you know what I mean?
Well,
and it wasn't about the results right now. It was about having some faith. It doesn't matter when it happens. Let's just push it forward. That's what's his thinking. My thinking, well, you know, by July, you can't do that. But it took me a lot of living to figure that out.
Being enthusiastic and ambitious young man is a good thing. Like
it's a good thing.
That's not a bad thing. But what you're saying is you didn't have the foresight at the time to see his plan.
No, I mean, I believed in him, but no, I was too impatient.
Yeah.
But you know what? We're all here to learn lessons, and I sure learned that one.
Tell me.
Life humbled me.
Tell me about your relationship with the Sidetrack Cafe. For those listening, Sidetrack Cafe was an institution in Edmonton.
Oh, man, well, it gave me I earned my wings. When I moved to Edmonton, like coming back, I used to go hang out at the Sidetrack on the legendary Sundays, and you weren't even born then. You are soon to come. Maybe no, actually, probably maybe close to a decade later or more. The Sunday nights were the biggest night of the week. It was packed all week, but Sundays were just like 400 people in there on Sunday. Believe it or not.
That's unreal.
I mean,
Wow.
it was just. But Naomi, it was just amazing. This scene from the players, all the musicians would hang out. All the people were there supporting it, and the place was making money. Everybody was playing. I mean, it was just a great time.
Yeah.
But I got to meet everybody there. I met all my close friends there. You know, Daryl Barr there, Mark Puffer there, and the list goes on and on and on. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's probably where I met Gary McGowan the first time. You know, so and the list goes on, and then it gave us a place to play, and then I became a part of the Sunday night jam session. So that room really established me in the city as this guy, you know, because I would look after the Monster Jam and be one of the featured artists. So that gave me a platform every week when I was going out playing all these towns, either Calgary or small towns. I play anywhere. I come back on Sunday. I'd get the chance to play to in front of 300 people. You know, yeah, I wasn't making hardly any money, but I didn't care because I didn't have any bills then. I just wanted to play.
You're telling
You know,
me 300, 400 people in a club in Edmonton listening to live music. I would have
isn't
enjoyed
that
that.
just
Like, that was
and you know what? I tell you
so
one thing.
frustrating
You know what?
now.
And no, you know, who was just telling me this the other day? Peter North. You know Peter?
No,
Peter North?
no.
He used to write for the Journal. He was a music writer, and CKAA had a few radio shows, and he's a promoter at the Salmon Arm Roots and Blues Festival. But he's an icon around here as far as promoter guys and stuff. But I was talking to Peter yesterday, and he said, you know, just about exactly what you just said. He said, we need a room like the Sidetrack. I said, I don't know if we're ever going to see like that, Peter. You know, every city in Canada, I will go on to say pretty well every city has maintained their iconic rooms. But we tore that one down and tried to relocate it, and then we gave up too quickly and leveled it. And that would never happen in Toronto. The Horseshoe's still in Toronto. The Sidetrack still should be here, but I don't know if the scene would support it like we did. But yes, on Sundays, I'm telling you, it was no problem to see 300 people in there or more. 300 was just, okay, that was a really full Sunday, but I've seen 500 in there sometimes where the lounge part was so stuffed. Because if the Oilers were, after a game where they'd have that blocked off for the Oilers, then there'd be another 200 people there because the Oilers are there. And oh man, it was just
The coolest place in town.
but it was
You got
great sound
musicians,
system.
Oilers. Wow, yeah.
Yeah, like a great sound system, great sound techs, and you get a chance to do your original songs. And so for me, that was like, wow. And then I started getting shows there because I started building up a following. And like, you know, that was the, you know, 10-step plan for any band. You know, you start building up a following of the Sidetrack and you get your own show there, and then, okay, and then you have arrived in Edmonton, you know, and but it was a launch pad because even my CD release party, like you mentioned, I had Much Music came to the Sidetrack, and they filmed my release party, and you know, not just because, well, the Guitar Wars thing because they were involved in it, but the Sidetrack it was the heavy room in Canada. It was one of the rooms across Canada. People named rooms. The Sidetrack was one of the touring rooms for all the labels and the major agents, right? So, and now we still have, I think we got more amazing music now from young artists than we ever had. So the talent is there, the infrastructure. And now with the pandemic, I'm going, oh man, like, where's it going?
Oh, yeah, it's hard to even envision what the future of live performance is going to be at this point, but someone has to, I think people, like you said, people who have the ingenuity like Gary did to think about the future and how we're going to be active.
Absolutely. And we will, and it'll morph into something that will, you know, a year later will become the norm and we'll accept it. I hope that, a vaccine, you know, that's probably a year away, you know, the fastest, or 2, they say, but I think the world has changed and it's getting so rocky now, you know, with, you know, things that are going on in America, you know, the upheaval down there, which is, we knew it was coming and it needs to come, but, you know, but the state of the U.S. and and where the world is so unraveling and is so wobbling now, and so many industries are just getting chopped, and I don't know what it's going to look like, but you know, I got my eye on it. But in the meantime, I'm just woodshedding and making music,
Yes.
surviving.
That's the thing, is at least you can stay creative during this time, and
Yeah,
you'll figure out how to get that out to the people eventually.
absolutely, absolutely.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Analog Brewing, winner of 3 awards at the 2020 Alberta Beer Awards, is a proud sponsor of the Dope Nostalgia podcast. Analog Brewing is now offering delivery within the city of Edmonton with no delivery fee on orders over $40. Go to analogbrewing.ca/shop. That's www.analogbrewing.ca/shop and place your order today. When placing an order, you could also pay it forward and take part in their Nurse a Pint program and prepay for a pint for a nurse. Mention this podcast in the order comments so they know we sent you. Analog Brewing, taking beer to the next level.
Turn up the fun with Ballsack. Turn it up. Put the Ballsack balloon in the sack. Blow it up now. Give it a whack. Turn up the fun with Ballsack. Hit it. Pour in some water too. I fly real crazy now. Ain't that cool? Turn up the fun with Ballsack.
Check it out.
And here's my little buddy, the Ballsack Brat.
Us two Balzacs are where it's at.
This is Brat. Turn up the fun with Ballsack. Turn up the fun with Ballsack.
I wanted to get involved in talking to you about your songwriting a bit, because I know you won an international songwriting competition, correct? The ISC?
I just recently, we came in, we had a few, I've been involved in that a few times, but lately I'm working on a project with a lyricist named Scott Robinson, and it's called Scott Free Sessions, because Scott is not a musician, lyricist, but we wrote the songs together, and we did a double disc record that we haven't released yet, but we had many singers around town that sang on it. I sang a bit, and then we had a bunch of guest singers. We were down in Austin. We were in Los Angeles, and Scott has the resources to be able to do all this stuff. So we entered a couple of those co-writes together, and a song called Istanbul, if that's the one you're reading, came in second for the lyrics, but it came into the finals in a few of the categories, a few of the songs, but we didn't win, but we came a second overall, and that's an accolade too. But
That's awesome.
that's the latest one. That's the latest accolade.
That's awesome.
But I got to give most of the credit to the lyrics to Scott, because I mean, I moved a few around and out of my thing, but I mean, a lot of the penmanship on the stories were his, and the music, you know, I built up around him. But we're co-writers, so we're sharing the sunlight on that. Yeah.
How often throughout your career have you been collaborating as a writer, and how often do you write by yourself? What do you prefer?
I love collaborating. I like writing by myself too. I do both constantly. Like, I'm producing artists now, and I'm usually with them. How it's been working with a couple that they come in with, you know, ideas that are sort of finished, and I end up getting involved. So I'm co-writing, producing there. But since about 15 years ago, when I lived in Toronto, I got really into the co-writing. I was involved in 2 Canadian Idol records, and I was one of the songwriters. There's 35 writers from around the world that were invited there to write for the winners, and some really like well-known writers, and they brought in people on their way up that they figured they might be good, and I was one of them. So I started, you know, really getting heavy into the co-writing then, you know, and then I started going down to Nashville a lot and co-writing, you know, trying to get in that scene down there. And that's all about co-writing. You know, one day you're writing with blah, blah. Next day you're writing with so-and-so, or 3 writers that you just met that day. And you're, you know, it's just it's a fast food industry of songwriting, but they believe in the collaborations. And so I do, you know, a lot of both.
Yeah.
And I enjoy them both. And I've learned so much from co-writing, because when you're writing by yourself, you're writing by yourself, you know. But when you're co-writing with people with different strengths, it's and when you click, it's an amazing thing. It's very powerful.
That was always something I need to be more comfortable with, is co-writing, because I always was afraid to share my My ideas.
I know. Hey, listen, me
It
too.
was all like a fear thing. Like I was afraid my idea would be stupid and get shot down. But
Well,
sometimes you
yeah,
have
but
the
some,
most amazing idea out of nowhere.
well, and you know that, and you know what? I tell you what, that's funny you should bring that up, because I remember one of my second trips to Nashville was, who was I writing with? I had a publishing deal out of a company called Carl in America signed me. I don't know. I'm not with them now, but I was with them for about 6 years. And they signed. There was a company in New York City, but anyway, they sent me to Nashville for the first time, and they set up these co-writes. And I can't remember who I was writing with, but he had some success. Who was it? Anyway, it just escapes me. But I just started talking about his philosophy, and he believes that if we don't blurt out these things that we think are stupid, or because I was so insecure, I'm going, this guy's had hits. I haven't had any hits. Like, what am I doing? Yeah, but I needed to, once again, I got to blast through that fear. And he said, but he told me, because he was sensing something. He go, listen, I want to hear those things you don't think are very good, because I got a feeling I'm going to think they're great. And if you don't say them, I'm not going to hear them. And and if you blurt that out, that might just be the ice that broke, the pick that broke the ice, and we go off into this tangent. Next thing you know, we came across something magical. And I never forgotten about that, because that can change the dynamic for the better.
Yeah. I think
so I took that. After that, I'm going, okay, I get it now. Because you know what? When you're in these co-writing sessions, it's just firing things back and forth. And it's not about who's smarter or who's not. It's like we're trying to get to the same end point. We bang ideas off together. We get a mojo going on, and hopefully our personalities click. You get to the finish line. But I've been in situations where the personalities did not work, and this is pointless, and that's okay too.
Yeah,
but I had to learn that.
That's okay too, and it's okay as long as you can both say to each other, "Hey, it's not working out, but good luck.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll try it some other way." But I think you kind of have to leave what I found is leave my insecurities at the door, and just go for it with writing with other people. I think that's the only way you're going to get those ideas out and flowing. Totally.
And I had knapsacks full of insecurities when I was doing all this, and from my childhood, and I thought maybe they'd leave me alone by the time I was writing at that point, but they didn't. So you gotta, and once you do it the first time, you go, well, that was okay. Actually, I'm strong. I feel stronger for it.
There you go. Yeah, it's a good feeling, isn't it?
But if you wouldn't have blasted through the fear, feel the fear and do it anyway, leap, and the famous saying that I was young, I wrote down on a card, leap and the net will appear. We got to do that, because in songwriting, I think it's a prime example of blasting through the fear. I'd never been anybody that, in the early stages, didn't have insecurities about, are these ideas any good? Am I any good? Do I even like myself? No, but really, because we're trying to convince people to like us, and if you make that
we're
the
vulnerable.
focal point, and we're vulnerable.
We're vulnerable people. Artists are, for sure.
Yeah, totally, absolutely.
Yeah,
Are you still writing?
It's been a while. I've been very invested in doing the podcast right now, because I felt more passionate about it as of late. When my band
but it's going
ended.
well.
Yeah, it is. It went from, hey, maybe I'll talk about the 90s and stuff with a few friends to I interviewed Right Said Fred last week.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's going great. And I couldn't ask for anything more. As far as music goes, though, I still have a lot of songs that I've, worked on, and pieces of songs, but I don't rule it out that I wouldn't start on that again, because that was my first love and always will be.
I'd love to hear them. I'd love to hear your stuff.
I'll send you a tune.
I'd love to hear it.
Okay.
Well, really, seriously.
I'll send you a tune that Stu Kirkwood produced that you'll
Stu's there's another guy. If I get talking about him, I just won't stop. I just think he's so brilliant.
He's my hero.
He is so brilliant. In any hat he wears, he's top shelf, man.
Mm-hmm.
He's just one of the most talented people, I think, that in this city. A silent storm, and his artist thing, not just the producing thing, is amazing. I just loved his records. I just think he was a great songwriter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he always got the best out of me. Like I felt
Yeah, there you go.
he made me feel comfortable, and but he was always very direct and bold in what he had to say.
Yeah,
But still got the best performance out of me and made me feel confident in what I was doing. And
totally.
that's what you really need in a producer.
Absolutely, because they're there to get. And some people believe if they like that spark, whether it's maybe a little bit of negative energy, it's going to bring that thing forward.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a risk people take, and it sometimes hits a home run. Yeah, no, I love them. Great.
I was booked in to go to your writing clinic there before COVID struck, and it was like,
I know COVID shutting down my career. Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm going to start doing more of. I'm just trying to, Naomi, I'm just trying to figure out other things I can do. Obviously
a Zoom clinic.
I'm going to do a Zoom clinic, and I got to get educated on that, because my wife said, you got to start. I said, I know. I'm so old school, but I got to. And I am going to do that, because the songwriting, you said, you podcast, what's really your interest of late. And I said, it's still the songwriting for me, it's just trying to get that song to that point where, yeah, we got it right.
Mm-hmm.
And I still want to pursue some kind of online thing about that, Zoom clinic, like you said. I think that'd be really fun, but I want it to be of value, and, to be where it's people can to do it and be fun and engaging and not intimidating, and just a bunch of artists getting together and talking about it.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. And the only thing is, it's hard to jam with people through Zoom because of the latency. You can't. There's that 1 or 2 second delay depending on your internet connection. But my buddy Mike Brazo is trying to always find ways to work around that, and he's been doing.
Well, I mean, if you went through I was thinking, if I went through my Pro Tools, some kind of audio out into Zoom. I mean, Pro Tools has I don't know if they have a latency function on there. I'll have to ask. Stu would know how to do that.
There you go. There's a good.
I'm always texting him anyway. Yeah.
Good.
I think he's got himself set up at home now. It's good to hear. He's got a studio in his basement now, and he's gonna still mix and get back to his art. Yeah. Yeah. I took all my work there, man. I just love his sounds, and yeah.
I always had a good time there at the old studio.
Oh yeah, it's a great spot.
What's some of your favorite gear and guitars to play? Gear to play with?
Well, you mean like pedals and guitar? Well, I love Telecasters. I like Strats in the studio. I don't like playing Strats live. I don't know why. I like playing Tellies. I like SGs. I like hollow bodies, 335s and stuff like that. I like Dobros. Got a Dualian Dobro. Banjo. I'm playing banjo now. That's the new thing in my last 3 years of my life.
That's very cool.
I'm getting to a point now I'm comfortable enough. I've been tracking with it, but actually play it live, I'm getting, I Bobby eyes the banjo. I'm not like those Nashville banjo players, but I'm putting my little stamp on it, and I'm comfortable enough. Well, my next show, I'm going to actually play a banjo. Not on every song, but you know what I mean? So, I mean, but an acoustic, I mean, my Godin, obviously, I played it for a long time. I'm kind of, my Godin, but I love my Taylor, and I have a few Taylors and a chord acoustic. I've lost a lot of guitars over the years, from being stolen on the road in the younger days, and lost so much gear in Vancouver. For some reason, it was always Vancouver. Get ripped off constantly out there, but yeah, but I think my, Taylor acoustic and my Telly would be my, if I have those two things at a show, I know I'm in my comfort zone.
Beautiful.
And pedals, normal pedals, I like line 6 pedals and delay pedals. I'm not really an over-processed kind of guy. I have about 4 or 5 sounds I'll use, like a dirty, like a good kind of clean with a little bit of grit for rhythm, a little bit more aggressive. Number 2, number 3 is maybe a little bit of a solo boost, and then number 4 is just over the top, most nasty sound you want for like a Hendrix solo if I ever went there.
Oh,
and
wow. Great.
Yeah, but it's not like some of the processing, and I'm still old school pedals, right? And I'm still, it's a dinosaur pedal rig I got, but I like it. It's noisy, but whatever.
That sounds good. It sounds really nice, actually.
Yeah.
What?
And I go through, I have my Fender Basement amp, and I've got a few amps downstairs, but I got a deluxe reverb too, I like, which is my kind of go-to amp. Yeah. But, I'm not really, once again, I believe the sound's in the hand, because I have seen great guitar players, no matter what they play on, they still have that great sound. Even if they sit in with a band and they're on shitty gear, they just somehow they sound as great as they did through all their rig. So I believe,
Sounds
as
in the
Eric
hands.
Clapton said, it's in the hands.
That's cool. I've never heard that reference before.
I think Clapton
it.
came out with it. Yeah. Well, like the Attack, I mean, go, if I heard, I don't know, Celine Dion singing through a 57 or a big studio mic, I'm sure she'd still sound as great as she ever did, So I guess at some point it's the performance and the talent and the the delivery that
Full circle goes back to what Randy said.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And to this, as I mean, better than anybody, if you ain't got a good song,
Nope.
then there's no point in recording it. But then again, as you'll argue with me, and I've argued many times, well, I think it's a good song. And producer goes, well, I don't. So who's right and who's wrong?
Exactly. We tend to look at our songs as so personal, like children, that if someone doesn't necessarily like it, it almost stabs you in the chest. You're like,
well, I mean, it hurts. Yeah. And I had to, I realized, and you know what? And that's just maybe the last 5 years. I had to let that go, because it did. Because, when you put a song out, I think it's safe to say, as writers, we all believe this. We're not even letting anybody hear it if we don't think it's good.
Nope.
So
right.
We want the response to be, wow. And it's not always wow. Okay, so be it.
I like when someone says, so that one's all right, but I like this one better. Okay, that's great. That's
well, at least there's one they like.
Yeah, give way of saying this one's shit.
Yeah,
Thank
give
you.
a few choices. It's all how you word the intro. There's here's 7 songs. Which one would you go with? Or not? Here's 7 songs. Do you hear anything you like? Don't go with that.
Keeping it a positive note, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, for causes you support, I looked in your bio and I saw a cause that was very near and dear to my heart, too, the Autism Society of Edmonton. So you've been supporting that society for a while. What's your story and background with them?
Well, I mean, it's kind of ironic, really. I have an autistic boy, Brett. He's 10.
Yeah.
And I work with him every day. I said homeschooling, plus he goes to school too, and he's making headway, leaps and bounds. But so that was our journey, me and Sherry. But Sherry ended up years later getting a job with Autism Speaks Canada, which is to raise funding for this organization to help with special needs and functions and stuff across the country. So that came in later. Mm-hmm. So Autism Speaks Canada, as she was doing functions, obviously it's a no-brainer. I want to get involved, and I'd be involved anyway. You know what I mean? So I did whatever I could do over the years, and on a smaller scale, I do bigger stuff. And once again, they've been hit hard because of this, and who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
These fundraising companies, I mean, a lot of them are on the chopping block because who's got any money?
Oh.
And there ain't no social events happening.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, but I still do, like over the years I've done, if I did a show, I would auction myself off as a house concert or something. I would try to do something. Or, I mean, one show we did, there's a young autistic singer in town, Sherry Fountain. He was amazing. So I would try to do events and not just be centered around me. I thought we should bring in musical talent that actually autistic talent. Mm-hmm. I could put them in my show and, whatever. So I like that angle.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, because I'm always worried about this self-indulgent, narcissistic, me. I'm tired of me. You know what I mean? I'm not, you know what I'm saying, right? Yeah. I still love my music, but I think we need to start thinking more about the bigger picture. How does it benefit everybody? And, the more the merrier, and just be surrounded by a lot of good vibration in there. I think that's what really makes an event soar. And I'm really into exposing talent, and with no strings attached. I just really, really enjoy, turning somebody on to something they haven't heard, because it's just amazing.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Right. And just go wow. And, so, yeah. So, but we'll be active again. I don't know what the future holds for that organization, but like everything else, everybody's hanging on to see what's going to come next with the pandemic, as they try to engage stage 3 or into the economy and see if anything else is coming back. Well, as of now, we're both still involved.
That's good. I just want to encourage our listeners to get involved with the Autism Society of Edmonton. Autism Speaks as well.
Yeah.
My nephew has autism. My sister's done a lot of work with him and through the PUF program through the Alberta government to help him develop and grow. And you're seeing him grow by leaps and bounds. But we're getting a little afraid that those programs will be cut, especially during the pandemic, right? So.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a good point. And the thing is, I think they have been cut in the last administration, I believe, here. But I mean, it's, because obviously Brett and my son, he's got funding to get assistance in a regular school. Mm-hmm. But they only can do so much. It's like they're doing everything they can. The teachers, they're working so hard, and these times are crazy for them. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's always is the funding there, and it's and if as your nephew, right? You said your nephew?
Yeah.
I mean, if I was to sit down with your nephew, I know within probably less than 30 seconds, I'll zoom in on this brilliance he has, like we all do. Maybe in the school system, there's certain areas where they need to pick things up, but they're also brilliant in their certain areas. Like they're over the chart brilliant. Yeah. Like they're using part of their brain that we don't have access to, or certainly I don't. Mm-hmm. And my son floors me on a daily basis. So we recognize the brilliance, but we still have to fit them in that school system somehow. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you what, I told this to, who did I tell you this today? I was saying to, I will thank COVID-19. You want to thank COVID-19? Yes, I'll thank COVID-19 for this. It made me realize how I got to be more involved in my son's education. In addition to what he's doing in school, I've got to be really involved and working with him. And COVID's given me that opportunity. I assumed he'd go to school, they'll take care of it. But you know what? No way. Mm-hmm. No way. I have to be really, really working with him too. So that is my life focus now. Is my son till the day I die. And even when it kicks back in, I'll be really active in that. And co-creating with the teachers with him, because I'm making a difference with him. He went from single digit multiple addition to triple digit, and now we're going to hit to the 1,000. So he just needed some attention, and they're doing really great with him on the reading, but they can't do everything. Yeah. And I realize that they can't do everything.
They're overburdened with
huge
class sizes, and
that's exactly so. So it was a wake-up call for me, but a one that I'm glad I got, because I needed one. I thought I was really engaged and had it together, but I realized I really wasn't. I was just thinking he was going to go to school, and that's going to be that. Nope. So.
I'm really glad you shared that. That was really, really interesting.
Well, it was for me. It was just like I'm really, and I'm getting closer. I mean, we're close, but now every day we spend I spend 4 hours with him every day. I get up early in the morning. Mm-hmm. I start with him at 10, and he does his online thing, and then I'll work with him on math and do stuff and back and forth. But I mean, I'm pushing him, but I want to push him because I want him to grow. And and I'm growing too as a parent, because I'm getting better at being a parent. So it's a tough job.
Everyone, you're growing and so is he. We all have to. And I wanted to wrap things up by asking you just one more question.
Yeah.
Who did you get to meet in the business that taught you the most, or you were most excited to meet or work with?
Oh God, Naomi. Naomi, there's so many people.
Yeah.
On the business side, I mean, I'd have to give I think, well, a guy named Larry Wanagus he never managed me, but he's a big manager. And Larry was always a good friend to me and gave me a lot of advice. And he really came through to me quite a few times in pointed areas with some serious advice from somebody that knows, like, what should I do here? I thank him for that. And a girl named Adine O'Brien that works with E1. And she was the lady that signed me for my first publishing deal. And I learned a lot from her business. She's from Cork, Ireland. She lived in Toronto, but she's really fireball and really together. But you know what? But I learned a lot from Randy Staub. And I'll tell you what, I learned a lot. You're going to laugh at this. I learned a lot from Gary McGowan. Not laugh at that. I learned a lot from Gary McGowan. That's probably the biggest one. But the funniest thing that was probably the most deflatable conversation I ever had in my life, but I learned so much about myself and how tough I really was when I finally got Bruce Allen on the phone.
Yeah.
And he cut through me like butter, but I stood up for myself. And you know what I'm talking about, because Bruce Allen, I phoned that office every day. It was back in the early days. I wanted his management. And this is after Randy Staub went into his office and said, you need to manage this guy. This is after the record was mastered. He goes, yeah, okay, I'll take a listen, whatever. Tell him to call me. So he wouldn't take my calls. 2 weeks later, I finally got the phone. And he wasn't very polite, but he wanted to find out what I'm made of.
Yeah.
And I knew, Randy said, if you ever get him on the phone, do not cower, because he tries to find out what you're made of. But
is he looking for people's weaknesses? I wonder.
He's from, I don't know him very well, but my father was old school. And, I think, I don't know this to be true, but my opinion about Bruce Allen is, let's push aside his success. Mm-hmm. Bruce Allen believes, I don't know this to be true, it's just my opinion from being in his circle a few times, that he believes that you need to be tough emotionally to handle the music business the way it used to be.
I agree with that.
Because it's dog eat dog, and it is nasty out there. Mm-hmm. And you can't be just this person that's going to cower. You got to know what you want and stand up for yourself. So how does he find that out? Attack me. Go right to that spot. Like the first thing he said to me, he goes, Bobby. I said, did you listen to that master, Randy Dry? Yeah, I listened to it, he said. I can't remember word for word, but it was kind of like that. I listened to it. So what do you think? I said, I don't know. I don't hear any hits there. I said, what? That's exactly what I said. What? And so he asked a lot of questions. But he asked some smart questions. But at the end of the 10-minute call, I had him on the phone for 10 minutes. I knew there's some reason he stayed on the phone. Why would he stay on the phone for 10 minutes? But anyway, nothing ever happened. But he knew my name when that conversation was over, and he knew I believed in myself.
Yes. Because
I told him he was wrong, and he's clueless, and he obviously didn't listen to that master.
Oh my goodness. What an amazing conversation.
But I mean, you know what? Who am I to argue with Bruce Allen? He's had success like that. I never did. And I respect Bruce Allen for that, because you know what? He doesn't just sugarcoat it. He's not overly rude. He's just very, very aggressive.
He's blunt.
He's got no time. Yeah.
Very
pushing buttons.
Says what he thinks right off the bat.
Yeah. So, and he made me say what I wanted to think. And I think that brought that out in me, and I needed to do that then. So he taught me a valuable lesson. I need to know when to say no. I'm okay with not agreeing with you. So, but it was, I tell you what, I was vibrating after that call, but I really learned a lot. So I'm grateful for that.
I learned a lot from just our conversation today. So much great. Thank you.
Thanks, Naomi.
It was really
but thank you. I hope I let you get a chance to get a few questions in. I tend to go off on tangents.
Oh, you were great. You know what's nice? When it actually feels like a conversation more so.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm glad. Questions. That's what I wanted to make sure that was. Well, you got me thinking about things that, I haven't thought about in a while. I'm actually, yeah.
And
I think you might have got me interested in the music business again. Oh, no. Oh, no.
You're welcome to come back on the show anytime. I'd love to have you.
Yeah, well, thank you. And, good luck with the show. And I'll spread the links around and stuff. And let me know when you're.
Yeah.
Is this going live? Do you post this or is this live on your show right now?
It's not live. It's going to be published within the next month or so. I have an actual schedule.
Let me know.
I have a schedule set up. So as soon as it's
cool.
I will message you a day or two.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll put a link for your show on my website, and I'll pump your show too and spread the love, because I appreciate your interest in what I'm doing.
Thank you.
And
I really appreciate
we
that.
got new music coming out, so I'm hoping to have a new single out before August and a new record. So
Oh, wonderful.
yeah,
So
so I'll make sure I get it to you.
let everybody know where they can find your all your
I will.
music. So BobbyCameron.com. That's where they can.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it.
Easy.
That's it.
Perfect.
Thank you, darling.
Thank you. And we'll talk again
Peace,
soon.
peace, peace. Okay, buddy.
Bye.
Good luck.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye. That's the way you play it. Play the blues, baby. Well, now last night I was walking by myself, talking about Joanna. She was off with somebody else. Told me that she loved me, said she loved me true, but I guess she meant forever. Was for now and not for good. My heart is heavy, weight of a doubt, the moonshine. Drown the muddy waters, won't taste your cherry wine. One more time, Joanna, like a diamond in the dust. Joanna, rest of labor to cut. Joanna, down by the sea, your heart of stone washes over me.
What a pleasure. Thank you to my guest, Bobby Cameron, for joining me. You can check out his music at bobbycameron.com. He also has a YouTube channel where you can see his music videos and all the stuff that he records right in his own home. And like you said, he has new music coming out very soon. So please follow him. Check out all his social media and support Bobby's music, all right? Next show, Oaktown 357. A female rap group that spent a lot of time on the road dancing for and supporting MC Hammer, all the way from Oakland, California. And their member, Sweet LD, joins me and goes over those old days. We do some reminiscing, and she tells me all kinds of stories. So great to have her on the show. That's next week. Until then, you guys take care, and we'll talk to you then.
Social media, yeah, we've got it. Send us an email, dopenostalgiapodcast@gmail.com. Twitter, Nostalgia Dope. Or on Insta, dope_nostalgia.
This podcast is licensed by SOCAN because we believe that artists should be paid for their work.
We're going to dance and have some fun.
Hey friends, you know what I really love doing is podcasting. It's so much fun, and I've been so lucky because I've talked to amazing people so far doing this show. And I'm trying to bring you guys the very best content I can. Now, in doing that, it does get kind of expensive, and I'm on a little bit of a budget to do so. But there's a way you guys can help out, and it's called Patreon. If you visit our Patreon page, you can subscribe to our podcast and get all kinds of ultimate perks just for subscribers. There's different tiered levels, so you can join for only $1 a month if you like. What's in it for you? Bonus content. We'll give you a shout out on the show. We're going to be recording all kinds of super secret stuff just for our Patreon subscribers. And in doing that, in subscribing, you're going to help us pay the bills. Help me pay my phone bill when I'm calling people far away for an interview. Help us pay for our licensing fees so we can play you awesome music clips and so much more to help keep this boat afloat. Join our Patreon at patreon.com/dopenostalgia.